the military analyst, former Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell is here. Sean, tell us, first of all, what you know about that Dnipro attack.
It was the latest wave of Russian strikes, missile strikes across the country, and in the past 24 hours, and as you say, it appears that the hospital at Dnipro was struck. Casualties, 2 died, but the number of injured is growing each time we report on it. It's north of 30 at the moment. When you see some of the devastation, it's no great surprise. I suspect that will increase even further. The Russian missile attacks were against Kyiv and a whole variety of different targets. The Ukrainians claim that they've shot down 10 missiles and 20 drones, but inevitably some get through. There were 2 oil facilities at Kharkiv that were also struck twice last night. The Russians appear to be targeting Ukrainian logistics support, which is, of course, in anticipation of their spring offensive is expected. But also Russian tactics seem to be now that they're attacking different cities on different nights to try to deluge the air defence systems of Ukraine. And despite however effective they are at doing that, some inevitably get through.
All right. And what about this news that Russia is moving ahead with its decision to deploy tactical nuclear weapons to Belarus?
We first broke this in March because President Putin announced he was going to forward deploy tactical nuclear weapons into Belarus. Yesterday, the 2 respective defence ministers met and signed up the requisite paperwork. In fact, President Lukashenko left that and then said that the missiles were already on their way, but we understand the special storage facilities that are required won't be actually available to the end of the month. Now, at face value, this is more about shaking the rhetoric around nuclear and putting a threat and putting fear into the West. Because the harsh reality is you don't have to forward deploy nuclear weapons. They can travel halfway around the world, so there's no benefit, and they're really unlikely to actually ever be used. So what's the real story here? The real story is that President Putin's made no secret of his desire to try and increase Russian influence, restore the Soviet Union. He's invaded Ukraine, and he's actually installed a puppet regime in Lukashenko across in Belarus. He's increasingly been putting more soldiers on the ground at Belarus by conducting operations against Ukraine from that soil, air attacks from there, now putting nuclear weapons in there as well, all designed to increase Russian influence in Belarus, but importantly, put more soldiers into Belarus itself. Now, Lukashenko, he's kept in power by Putin. He's been described as the last dictator in Europe. And although he's got a really difficult line to tread because he wants to avoid riots, which he's had in the past, but he also doesn't want to keep out of step with President Putin. Apparently, he was fairly lukewarm about some of the initiatives Putin had to get even closer alignment between the 2 countries. Coincidentally, his health declined around that time, but he's only recently been seen back again. But let's be quite clear, this initiative about the nuclear weapons being deployed is probably less for an international audience and is almost certainly Russia just tightening the noose gently around Belarus. This is a Russian invasion of Belarus, or a phase of it, but by stealth.
Very interesting stuff, and one to keep an eye on. Thank you very much, Sean Bell.